Welcome everyone to the Voice of Terminus show. We just watched VR stream some of their footage with Jim Lee from DC Comics, and we thought we would do a post-stream analysis of what we just saw. And first thing to note is they had a lot of fun.
Your cam's frozen on stream, by the way.
It's frozen. There's nothing I can do about that.
Yeah.
Frozen. I can turn it off and turn it on.
At least it's not in a weird pose.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all I do. Is I usually just toggle my camera.
Oh, I'll turn it off real quick. See if that.
Hey, what would a Pantheon related stream be without a little technical difficulties at the beginning, huh?
Exactly. You know, we're
keeping the tradition alive.
We share their pain.
That's right.
So I'm frozen, but you can hear me. That's the main thing. So like I said, these guys had a lot of fun. There was 2 developers in this group with Jim Lee, and the rest were, you know, friends of his, part of his crew. And they're having fun going through this dungeon. And a few interesting things to talk about. First and foremost is some of the announcements they made. At PAXEast, they'll be showing off a new dungeon.
Hello,
and
Hi,
yes, it's 7:20 AM for me, so kids are up and getting ready to do kindergarten and all that good stuff. So anyway, they'll be showing off.
2:30 AM for me.
Yep, that's late for you, dude. They'll be showing off some of the a new dungeon at PAXEast, like I said, and it's something that pre-alpha testers can look forward to in pre-alpha 3 when that comes around. So that was very nice of them to put out that little tidbit of information. So what we're seeing now at the beginning is Jim Lee logged into the game, and he kind of had a bug where he could move through the world. And you can see at the top, on the top left, you can see where it says character name instead of what his character was actually called. So it seems like our technical difficulties has definitely wandered over to VR. But I'm going to go and skip through the technical issues.
Yeah. All we can really say is pre-alpha issues are going to happen.
Yep.
The fact that it has been, you know, just, I mean, we saw some camera or character related login issues, and we saw a couple graphical glitches with mobs when they died.
Yeah, definitely.
That's it.
I mean, they still, you know, they combated the issues and,
right.
you know, helped fill this, you know, fill the void by, you know, talking about other stuff with, you know, and having fun about it as well. They weren't anxious or anything like that, and, you know, it's what we expected for them. They'll pull it off regardless. The same with TwitchCon, and it's always when they go live though.
Yeah, it's just the way it works.
Yep.
I'm a software developer, so I can tell you the minute that you go to show a client something, the minute you push something live, everything goes wrong.
Yep.
Just the way it works. So
they were playing on a test server as well. They were on a test server. This session around. And one thing I really want to talk about was when they went and, I mean, just showing off this the visual effects of the world at this early stage. It looks really, really good. But Braden,
disclaimer: there are children present on one side of the street.
So they were talking about this area here. Can you leave that there, please? Or what are you doing?
That was here.
Oh yeah, well, leave it there then. So they were talking about this particular area here. It should come up in a minute with the or did it already happen with the face? It already happened.
I wasn't watching, but I'm assuming it already.
Okay,
happened.
so here I'm going to pause the screen. So they were talking about how you can interact with the world, because the game is, you know, primarily PvE, player versus environment, and they want the environment to actually be more than just hitting mobs and, you know, gaining fat loot, you actually engage with the world itself. And this is one of the examples they put out there, that this stone mask or whatever is going to be something like part of the perception system, where you wander up on it, and if you have your perception high enough, you have a high enough insight or investigation skill, you might get a hint of, hey, you know, this mask looks very strange, or is placed oddly in this world. What could there possibly be?
Right. The fact of it is the perception system allows for static elements in the world to, in a way, become interactive.
Yep. Without
the need of lighting up and being all shiny. You walk by and it's like, hey, oh wow, that thing looks really old, or there's a hum coming from this rock. What's going on?
Yep.
It's an approach that no one else has really taken yet, because everyone else has always done it looks brighter than the surrounding area. You mouse over it, it lights up, you click on it, and something happens.
Yeah. So they didn't show off anything new at this point. They went into Halnirs Cave with Jim Lee and ran through that dungeon. But I can understand why they've done this as well. You don't want to reveal too much or show off too much. And Jim Lee, coming from a different branch, also gives them opportunities to show off the game to new audiences out there as well, and gain traction from that. So overall, I think that this was received very positively from Jim Lee's community. From what I saw, there was definitely a lot of interest.
A lot of really good comments, really good questions, and I'm actually pretty proud of those of you that are from the VoT community that were also in chat answering the questions honestly and, you know, to the best of your ability. So bravo.
Very well done. So they had a lot of fun in this dungeon. Jim Lee zoned out of the zone by jumping around. Something that can happen very quickly.
That's what happens when you're excited. You prematurely zone out.
Yep. So, but again, I can't stress enough the visual beauty of the spell effects, particular effects that they have. It looks really amazing. And towards the end, when they were fighting those wraiths, when Jim Lee got that particle effect on him from the named encounter or whatever it was, that looked really great. And then that little fun event where Aradune went ahead of himself.
There are a few people in chat that haven't seen it yet, so we're not going to try and spoil. We're going to leave things a little vague, just for you.
But the best comment for me of the night was from Joppa, when he said, "If we were a real group." that was just classic. That, and you can see how much fun these guys were having, and that's what this game is about. It's about having fun with friends, getting together, trying to combat this world, and enjoying yourself. Socialization.
Yeah, having fun with people you know or may not know, and just having a good experience, which this obviously was. It was very, very obvious that everyone was having a good time. They did make some progress. Yes, they were a little twinged. Yes, they were a little over level. But you know what? Given the circumstances, I think we can give them a pass on that.
And just seeing all these visuals and how the lighting, the shadows, everything looks. I know we've seen this zone like now. This is now maybe the fourth time we've seen this, but I just still can't get over it. The particle effects, the spell effects, and everything, they come to life in zones like this. They look visually outstanding compared to when you do it outside, and what a good way, there's no better place to show that kind of stuff off.
Oh yeah, I mean, especially in a dark zone like this where you're underground, there's mist effects, there's lots of curvature to the walls and the other static assets that are there to decorate the place. I mean, it turns a spell's effects from just being a little bit of glitter to really something that's super appealing, super eye-catching because it affects the lighting, the shadows, and everything. It's just a huge burst of color. The whole room lights up. You know, it's. I don't even think I've seen anything like that in an MMO before. That has mostly been like single-player RPGs where they've gone into that much detail with lighting.
So you can see Heal Me there having a little glitch of falling down.
Yes. Glitch.
But you know, it's stuff like that. You know, these are the kind of things you want to see in a testing server or in pre-alpha. You know, these are the kind of glitches. You know, this is the blooper reel. This is the kind of stuff that, you know, I would love to have a DVD or, you know, a digital download of, you know, recorded bugs just to watch and look at and see, or even, you know, pictures and stuff like that.
Yes, any of you film buffs out there that love to like just make videos and stuff, there's a task for you. Make a blooper reel. All the Pantheon streams, all the bloopers.
Yeah.
I'd watch it. I'd thumb up that video faster than I can click it.
That might be a task for us to do as well.
Maybe.
Go through the
now
streams.
We just gave the idea to everybody else.
Yeah, well, Lex, you know, we're about sharing. Sharing is caring, right? Maybe it's a community task.
Yes. I'm just gonna go ahead and say yes. I'm too tired to argue.
And another nice new feature is the visual key as well. When you root or maze or have a dot on you, that also helps as well. You realize things. Because I'll be honest, I'll get distracted if it's just, you know, the particle effects and everything going on. I won't realize until it's too late that you've been mezzed or got a dot on you and dropped dead. So
Right.
I actually welcome having that.
The animations that accompany the target of a spell does really help visually. Like, for instance, later on in the stream, you'll see people getting stunned or put to sleep or whatever it was. And the character will actually lean over like they're kind of dozing off on their feet. You know, it's like, oh God, I need to dispel that. And it's just the visual cues added with the audio cues that you have, because I mean, all the spells sound great too. I mean, it all comes together in a very, very nice package.
Yeah, definitely. So I'm going to go and, you know, move forward step by step. There are a few interesting points to point out.
Mm-hmm.
And it actually looks like that my camera's actually gone on the fritz. So
Maybe. Mine does that all the time. Actually, I got a question for you, Yarn.
go on then.
With this stream, was there any little bit of information, anything that you saw that was actually a little bit disappointing for you? It's okay to say no.
Trying to think. I mean, these guys were having fun. Disappointing for me. Maybe how, you know, them showing some of this, you know, the same stuff again, and well, but I can understand why they're doing that, like I said. But for me, not really. You know, I was just happy that they were doing the stream. What about you, though, Lex? Anything that disappointed you? I was happy with the stream as it was, because,
well, you know, by now, those of you out there that are watching this and VR, you guys know if something bugs me, I come out and I say it. I don't sugarcoat nothing. And I'm sorry to say that I'm actually disappointed when they were later on in the video or later on the stream, and it was said that they had already experienced probably 60% of the dungeon.
Ah, right, okay. So you're talking about basically outside as well, yeah. So that was definitely something that was kind of a bit of a kicking the teeth, more or less, being late to the stream and having that all kind of messed up. But you know, getting things set up and everything. But at the same time as well, going through it, because it sounded like, you know, they'd gone through it before, and it seemed like they had trouble at the beginning. Like it wasn't not so much a kick in the teeth in that sense, but it was kind of a letdown.
I know what I mean is, when the question was asked that how much of the dungeon had they seen at that point.
Right, okay.
And the response was about 60%, you know, and it was a very rough estimate.
Yeah.
Because it was my understanding that, you know, the dungeons were going to be designed to be very, very large, multiple tiers in terms of, you know, verticality of it, like Amber Fate, so that you could have a very wide range of levels and accommodate large number of groups.
Right.
Now, I understand they're moving very quickly. So it does make the zone feel smaller. But having that at that point been 60%, it kind of made me feel like it's much smaller than I would have hoped for.
Well, you know, you don't know how much though the 60% really is, though, do you?
No, but I'm just saying it was disappointing to hear because I was not expecting that high of a percentage, and it could be a guess. It could. There's no real baseline to judge this here, but that was the only time I kind of felt I kind of caught myself going, oh.
Yeah, but don't forget though, you know, this is one of the beginning dungeons, so
yes.
You know, and they're all going to vary. You're going to have bigger, you're going to have larger, you're going to have small dungeons, and this is one of the starting dungeons where they also mentioned basically that the human race, the halflings, and the elves will most likely engage in this dungeon. So I find it okay if that's, you know, if this has been 60% what we've seen of this dungeon, I'm fine with that. Not all of them have to be extremely large, you know, from the get-go. So it
just with the speed that they were going, and probably a bit of the teleporting around.
Exactly, that comes into account as well. It
really made it feel tiny to me.
But that comes into account as well, though, the teleport. We don't know how many strides or how many steps they basically skipped within that dungeon. So showing off these different areas where the different bosses are, and so forth is and then, you know, teleporting here and there, that kind of cuts it. So
it does.
You could add maybe another 20% maybe on top of that you have. So I wouldn't be too disappointed about that.
Well, things are also very much in flux right now.
Yeah.
So while I say that was disappointing for me, I do understand that, you know, maybe spawns are going to be faster, maybe they're going to be slower, maybe there's a pathway that's not technically finished yet, or maybe because of the teleporting around and the speed that they were going, it really felt, or it just really condensed the zone, versus if they were to go in more level appropriate and gear appropriate, it would make it feel larger because it takes them longer to make the same progress.
Yeah, I'm guessing that, you know, they obviously wanted to show off some of the cool features of this dungeon and whatnot, rather than go through a dungeon crawl for, you know, 2-3 hours or whatever, and maybe not get to that certain point. Because, you know, don't forget, you know, Aradune and Joppa got together with Jim Lee and his crew. They might have played a few, you know, a session beforehand. They might have, you know, just got together. So they're kind of getting used to each other as well. So that would also impact the stream itself and what they want to show off. So I can understand why they use some of those skipping abilities to get to certain points. Maybe somewhere down the line they might actually do a proper dungeon crawl with somebody.
Right.
I mean, we've seen something similar with Ko. With Ko, they basically went on and just did the crawl. They ran through that whole dungeon during the pre-alpha testing sessions, and, you know, there was no skipping there. So you know, they actually went and did that. But you know, they wanted to show off some things with or to Jim Lee and his audience, so I can understand why they've done that.
Yeah.
So
I understand that you do have to highlight certain things, like seeing that you do have a scriptable boss, show that you have all these different almost like biomes where you have the ratkin and then the humans and then the undead. You know, you do want to showcase that to show that it's not just, you know, you're going to be here for 4 hours and all you're going to be doing is killing the same 3 kind of rats.
Yeah.
I get it. You know, you want to show that there's also climbing in here and there's whatever, you know. But for me, even as a viewer, I prefer to kind of get that first-hand experience through what I'm watching. So for me, at least, it could just be me that the teleporting really throws me off. You know, the kind of being a little overpowered throws me off a little bit.
The thing is, as well, though, if you know, there's 2 sides to this. You've got those fanatics out there, and I guarantee you they're sitting there, and even in our chat, that have pen and paper, and they're mapping out this zone already.
Oh, that's
so
I hope
you know
I'm going to be able to get a map somewhere.
So you don't want to reveal too much too quickly. You know how to get to this named and that named. You know you want to keep the suspense going, and you know even with showing this so multiple times, I don't want to see this on the stream again and again and again. And know it off the back of my head. So when the game finally comes out and I get to go into this dungeon, I've seen it like 1,000 times, and I'm kind of like, you know, yeah, whatever.
Right.
Now I still want that little bit of surprise to happen to me. So I think it's perfectly fine doing it like that. To be honest,
there's pros and cons. Just you know, it's a case of you know, different people are going to find different things. You know.
So I want to
kind of thing.
I want to do a shout out to Dayhawk as well. He finally got some.
Don't do that. He's a Paladin.
Yes, he got some Pally love from Aradune. The question was asked basically what Aradune will play when the game comes out, and he said Ranger and probably a Pally. So there's some Paladin love there for you, Dayhawk. You're not alone. The man himself plans to play a Pally as well. So you know that's.
I'm sorry, Brad. You're not allowed on the show anymore. Soonish will never come as long as you're a Paladin. I'm kidding, because I'm pretty sure if you took that seriously, you're gonna show up my door and hit me with something.
Yeah, I would sell everything that I own to buy a plane ticket over to the US and hunt you down.
Hey, I run faster scared than you can angry.
What? You heard it there.
It's on my side.
You heard the missus. Yeah, so. Oh.
I will say I really enjoyed the fact that they ran into those undead mobs that you actually had to be careful and watch the damage shield that they would cast on themselves.
Yeah.
You know, you've got to be really attentive to what you're fighting at points. You know, it's not just going to be tank and spank the whole way.
Oh, definitely, yeah. You got to. No, it's going to be situational.
Right. Know what you're fighting. Know what you're getting into.
Yeah, you got to you know, be aware of your surroundings. Check, you know, what do I have at my disposal? What kind of group setup do I have? You can't just go in there, tank and spank, or just rush through and hey, guess what? I'm done. No, you're gonna have to actually really think about what spells you're gonna be using, what setup you have, how you're gonna, you know, accommodate with the group and work together as a team. And you got to look around every single corner and be very careful.
Yeah, I mean, at least the first time you go in, you're going to be walking on eggshells. You're going to be very, very cautious. And the thing is that I know some people who are very accustomed to these like speed runs through dungeons.
Yeah.
This is still a good thing because you're going to just be so attuned to your group. You're going to be so immersed in the game and what's going on that, you know, you're going to have yourself a great time.
Yep. So, I'm gonna go. Is this where they hit the spider, or I'm trying to see where this first?
I was running on 4 hours sleep today to begin with, so I couldn't tell you. The video went in this way and it's straight out of my memory.
Yeah.
Because I'm watching the stream. I'm sitting there going, there's this one effect that looks like sparks flying off of the mob. I don't know for sure, but like, is that a proc on Aradune's weapons? I mean, it looks like it would fit, but it's a really cool effect. I've never seen something like that before. Because it actually looks like, physics are attached to the particles. They're likely not, but that just means the animation is done very well.
It's alive in this house this morning.
I'd say. Meanwhile, it's dead over here.
You can see the other. That's the pillar where they found the key.
Yep, that other perception
Yep.
quest. So perception in dungeons, really good. And it was it seemed like it was a required step. You had to find this thing so you could find a key to open a door in order to go further.
That's another great thing as well. Despite being an open dungeon, you're going to require certain elements from the world, like keys and all this stuff, to unlock certain doors to progress through the dungeons. So, because there's a lot of people out there that are kind of on the fence with everything being open world and open. All the dungeons being open. They're afraid that there's going to be kill steals and overcrowded. So the way to combat that is the way they're doing it now. Certain areas are going to require a key to unlock a door, or wizards maybe to enchant doors, special access, like you said, and that's how you kind of balance that out. Not everybody's going to be doing the same thing, especially when they talk about these dungeons being pretty large. And if we look at the combat, these guys were level 16, and they were still having a hard time.
Yeah. Mostly through pulls, but I mean, it really seemed like the body pulls or proximity pulls, that mechanic wasn't super fine-tuned yet with the mobs, which is perfectly acceptable in this stage of development, because there were times where Jim would go up there and you would hear the little trumpet sound like, oh, you've got aggro, and he would not move, and then maybe a second or two later, you'd hear the second one go off. It's like, if they were social, I would have thought that would have happened sooner. So and if it was a proxy pull, he should have kind of only got one. Something just didn't really add up there, but who knows at this point, really.
Well, maybe it's also the positioning of the encounter as well.
Yeah.
Maybe the encounter had back to him, so it wasn't quite aware of him until he got closer. So there's certain aspects to it as well that also impact that.
Right.
So there goes the pillar looks ancient notification.
And we know that VR, they had a lot of influence in EverQuest and dealt with those systems a lot. And it was even said in the stream that the pathing alone is a lot more complex than way back in yesteryear. So there could be factors that we're not necessarily, we don't necessarily realize come into effect with aggro right now.
Yeah.
Which would be freaking great, to be honest, because I'm so tired of every, generic MMO title here. You know exactly how the mob's going to react.
So this is where they show off the perception again and talk through it.
I will say the fact that they've got the automated kind of door that Aradune had walked through.
Yeah.
I love it.
Well, you just got and revealed everything.
I know I did. Sorry. It should is a spoiler, but I'm too tired to care.
Well, it is late.
It is. I was tired.
It's finally the first show where Lex is actually up in the middle of the night.
And
we should do this more often.
No, we should, because I am concentrating so hard on every word that I'm saying right now.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, you know, you'll see a lot of games. The first example that comes to mind is Skyforge. When you walk into an area for a boss fight that requires everyone be inside of the area before they get locked out, you know, Skyforge did it with this little glowy circle, you know, which doesn't really fit. Doing that sliding door does essentially the exact same thing. You know, everyone has to be inside, everyone has to be ready. Those who are not, when it is engaged, are locked out. But they did it in a way that made sense, you know.
Yeah. I'm going to skip forward a bit. That was the first, I think, or second encounter that they had. Tuasawa, the Banehound, shooting off those beams.
Yep. There you see, you know, that's kind of weird seeing that beam flying off to the side.
Yeah, yeah.
That's a small problem.
Exactly.
That's me being tired and more nitpicky than usual.
But the visuals again are just mind blowing. It's like, you know, I would have, but I'm gonna have a hard time not paying attention. I'll be honest with you, because I'm just gonna be baffled by these visuals going off everywhere and seeing Joppa there with his glowy hands when he's casting, and it's like, you know, wow.
Oh yeah, and that's the funny thing is, I mean, if you just watch the walls, right? Because the walls are what accentuate all the lighting details, really.
Yeah.
You can see every cast, every impact.
Yeah.
Just by the lighting that is reflected on the walls.
Exactly. So there we have a few deaths.
Yep.
So I got to ask though, I'm trying to get to that point where they took on the Blasphemer.
Mm-hmm.
Now, was that thing bugged or was it just OP'd, man?
The Blasphemer was the one that had the damage shield. That I believe the first time they were not informed of what that particular mob did. So when it did the damage shield, it just kind of like reflected damage back. So then everyone went from like, oh, this is great, to, oh god, I died. At least I'm almost positive that was that mob. And I will say that even though these are undead, spectral style mobs that are usually a little translucent, transparent, whichever.
And yes, I'm nodding along to Lexa, but he can't see it.
But even though they're a little transparent, I mean, you can still see them just fine.
Yeah, I actually like that. I actually like that. You know, that's a very nice visual to see, and you know, having them off in the distance as well, where you can barely just make them out. That adds that suspense as well inside this dungeon. This dungeon is pretty gloom and dark, and a scary place to wander. And I don't want everything.
There's been more than one occasion where the puller having a torch would have probably prevented an ad.
Yep.
How popular will the archive be? Well, it depends. If you like having a this end up arrow on your back, very.
you like pulling that joke, right?
Everyone that's not a scar I make fun of.
So a few people in chat were talking about this particular scene as well, where they were basically after they took care of that encounter, they went behind, and all there was a wall. So people said, you know, that would be a great place to put a chest. I couldn't agree more. You know,
Absolutely.
have some areas where there might be some hidden loot. A chest where you might need a rogue to lockpick, or it has a magical barrier on it. And it's something that you could even, you know, link to a quest or to a certain NPC. But, you know, again, it's still early on, so I'm sure they're just starting to pace everything out, work on all the visuals, and, you know, they've got props to add in. And that's all still going to come.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I'm sure that as much of the crazy things we come up with and talk about here, I'm sure that VR would love to implement most, if not all of them, but it becomes a matter of time. You know, they don't have the time or the manpower to really do all this before a launch if they want any kind of reasonable launch date.
Yeah.
So they're going to have to be very picky and choosy. Maybe we're not going to get a chest there.
No, maybe we're not.
Maybe we're not.
And it doesn't have to be, you know, to be honest.
No, it feels like one belongs there.
It could also be something where, you know, they might have room to expand on this dungeon later on. You know, they could have like a breakable wall that leads to a secret room or to a completely new area of this dungeon that we don't know about.
Yeah.
There's definitely...
Who was an old EverQuest player? Who remembers the illusion walls? You know, so many zones were tiny until you found this one wall that was just an illusion and you walked right through it.
So if this was me now playing this game, right, I'd be like, you know, sending out a bug report or you know, constantly complaining about the streaking of this beam. I'm getting beams all over the screen. The visuals are really cool, man.
Is a little too excited.
Yeah. Another fun fact as well, during the stream, they were talking about, you know, dying, death, and Brad made a funny remark, you know, if you have a cleric that can res, give him a few coin, he'll res you, and then you're good. And then Aradune made the comment of basically, or you play a female character, and hopefully it's free. He knows all the ins and outs. He knows all the ins and outs.
For those of you that may not understand, in the early days of EverQuest, and I'm pretty sure this is carried over to other games, not so much anymore, but it used to be if you played a female character, you got people lined up to hand you stuff for free. They gave you money to help buy your spells. They buffed you. Meanwhile, the male character standing next to him was like, "What about me?" And they'd be sitting there and be like, 20 plat.
Here we go. This is the one where they beat the blasphemer. And it was, like you mentioned, a first time encounter for them as well.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of danger in this zone, for sure. So is everybody out there excited after the news about PAXEast showing off a new dungeon?
Yeah, because they said new dungeon.
Yep.
One that nobody's seen yet.
Yeah.
Outside of VR. So yeah, I'm kind of sitting there going, what will it be? What will it be?
I'm really trying to think what it would be. Would it be that one we saw from the screenshots that Brad put out? That big building outside. I think it was an Avendir's Pass or something like that.
Oh, right. They said that the one that was kind of in 3 sections.
Yeah.
Maybe. That could be it, but I don't know because they've already had like a inside building one, Tower of the Reckless Magician.
Yeah.
So they might try to do something different. Maybe. I just don't know. I'm hoping that it's something near Scargle, but that's obvious why. Because right now I'd pretty much kill for just a screenshot of the Scar model.
Does the Scar really exist? We need a proof of concept.
I'm still playing one.
We need a proof of concept, please.
I'm really curious. I mean, we see the artwork of the Scar on the site. They've got kind of like almost the Predator-esque dreadlocks to them. They got the really funky legs. How are they gonna move? Are they gonna be clunky? Are they gonna be fluid?
It's not just that as well. It's a matter of gear.
How's the armor gonna look?
How's the armor gonna look? Because they are spiky. They've got spikes all over their body.
Right. I want to know these things.
Yeah.
I have got to know. But, I'm a stat junkie. I want to know everything about the class that I'm interested, or the classes that I'm interested in. I want to know everything about the races I'm interested in. Not halflings.
And alone, on this current scene now with the shadow and everything, the way the shadows look on these walls bouncing off, really cool. And how stable the game is,
right?
For systems that might have been 2-3 years old, they're going to run. They should be able to run this. Obviously, not in the highest detail, but they'll be able to
a very visually appealing level of detail.
Yeah.
Even with older hardware.
Yep.
But I mean, that's one of the key designs at the core of MMOs, because being a massively multiplayer online game, you need to appeal to a broader audience.
Yeah.
So the hardware requirements go down. But I think that VR has done a very, very respectable job at realizing that fundamental fact and still trying to make it so that on the older hardware, you're still going to get a very pleasing experience.
Yeah. So this mob was really, really tough.
Yeah.
And he was tearing them apart.
And I think that was simply because when he did that damage shield, they didn't really realize it. And you had to stop your auto attack. You had to stop doing your abilities and just kind of sit there and take your beatings.
I'm jumping through here real quick. Trying to find that one encounter with the effect that I really digged. That was on Jim Lee. But they had a real blast, and that was the main thing, though. And that's the biggest thing
that's what we want out of this.
Yeah, that's the biggest takeaway that we can all have is even these guys, the developers were having fun and enjoying themselves with Jim Lee. It's like longtime friends back together after so many years, enjoying a nice little evening, doing a little grind in some dungeon.
Yep.
What more could you ask for?
That's all I want. I want to be able to go in a dungeon with some friends, maybe a person or two I don't know, and just have a really good time.
Yeah.
For better or for worse, I should say. Because I guarantee you I'm going to die. It's kind of my job as a tank.
I'm going to fast forward, try and get to that one scene, because we've got another 10-15 minutes and then we're going to have to wrap.
Yeah, it's 3 a.m. here, and I have to be up at 6. Oh, I have to be up before 6 a.m. because my conference call is coming in at 6 a.m. It's going to suck a lot.
This is where they get ready to go and take on that final guy. And something really funny happened.
Someone goes a little too far.
It's like do we go on 3 or after 3?
Right.
It's one of those moments. And again, these visuals for the spells, alone the wizard. Oh, look at that! Look, there we go. Look at that. That looks just wow, Andy.
Yeah.
I think yeah, this is it. Yeah, that's the effect that
Yeah, that's a really cool one.
Really looking. That mist. I am really worried that the visuals are gonna like. I'm gonna be the cause of a lot of deaths in our group because I'm just gonna be like sitting there going,
See, this is my surprised face.
I'm definitely gonna be the cause of a lot of deaths.
I'm gonna be the guy on Discord screaming, "For the love of God, heal me!"
Because for me as well, obviously I'm blind as a bat. With the visual indicators on top, above the encounter with yourself, when you have a dot on you or you've cast a dot on the NPC. For me personally, they kind of at this point in time, they melt too much with the visuals, so I won't realize that right away. But that's because I'm blind as a bat. So I'm gonna have to see how this is gonna pan out because I will definitely cause a lot of deaths.
Yeah, you're talking about the little debuff icons under.
Yeah.
I'm actually a fan of those.
I'm a fan of them. Don't get me wrong, but at the current state, they kind of melt with the everything that else is going on. The casting, they're too light. They need to have some kind of.
I think they're too big.
Yeah, they need to be a bit smaller and not so transparent. They seem transparent to me, if you know what I mean.
And if there's no reason to know that a rogue's abilities on there, I should only see mine. Meaning, if there isn't like a combo system like we had talked about in a previous show, where if I can change a rogue's ability into something else, if there's nothing like anything like that, then I shouldn't see it because I don't need to see it. It's not information I need.
What about a compromise? This is where we come down to what the Voice of Terminus show is always trying to promote is options. Maybe have this as something optional that you could turn off within the UI.
Right.
Show friend cast on NPC.
Show friendly debuffs.
Yeah, show friendly debuffs or not, and so forth. Now have that. Have the players each decide what they want to see and what not. Because I'm sure that's a small thing to do. Because for me, the biggest key for enjoyment in an MMO is actually not limiting myself with how I play the game or how I can indulge the game, but giving me options to pick and choose how I want to have my UI set up and what I want to see visually. That's one of the most important factors for me personally, is that I have options rather than being limited with things available to me or not available.
Right. As I mean, to a healer, it might not be something that's useful.
Yeah. For
me being a tank, it might be useful because then I can see visually if a mez or a crowd control ability is fading, or if there's a dot on something that is supposed to be crowd controlled, and then I can just swap my target. Okay, we're swapping. You mez that one. This one's got a dot on it. We'll take this one. That I can definitely understand it being a positive thing, but it does tend to kind of crowd up your view a little bit.
Trying to get to that point that we can show off that
the step too far.
Yeah, I think it should be coming up soon, shouldn't it?
All I know is that someone needs to make a GIF of that.
Here we go. It's coming up. So this was most probably one of the most classical moments in an MMO. And this
McQuaid himself.
Yeah, and this is Brad. This is definitely a awesome moment. Brad's like, let's go, let's do this. I'm ready.
I'm ready.
This is gonna rock. And boom.
Oh God,
I was in tears after that happened, dude. Honest to God, I was like, you know, that is just a classical moment. That's a blooper right there.
Oh, yeah. And here's the thing, though: if Jim was under that door, what would have happened?
Yeah,
he was very close, and his character actually. It looked like his character reacted to the door.
Yeah, kind of moved itself. Yeah.
It looks like he kind of like got pushed back a little bit, but like if he was underneath it, would it have damaged him?
Yeah.
Or would it have pushed him one way or the other?
Yeah, that was really classic. That was, you know, one, and that's one of those moments where you look back, and that's a story to tell. Right. Remember that time we were in Halnirs Cave, and the tank rushed ahead, and boom, the door came down. It's one of those moments you look back on, and it's something you tell your friends about years to come, or it's one of those stories that you tell.
3 expansions down the road, no one goes there anymore, and you're like, man.
Or when your son,
one day.
Yeah. Or when your son like asks you, so what do you find appealing about MMOs? Well, hey son, here's a story for you.
Yeah, it's the stories that come about from the systems in place, basically. Of course, the door opens and the guy is dead. There's nothing fishy about that at all.
Yeah.
You kind of had no choice, though. I mean.
Yeah.
Wipes, and then you gotta recover,
and just to notice,
they were running out of time.
Yeah, and just to note as well, I'm really liking the way the armors are starting to look. You can see what materials it is, if it's cloth, if it's metal, if it's leather. You can actually see, you can even see that the robe is actually a pretty thick robe compared to what the gnome might be wearing, or the warrior. Why? It's kind of jumpy. But what happened there? They turned out.
Huh?
Okay, so I actually missed this point. Yeah, the final fight. So we'll watch this fight, and then we'll wrap up the show. Like I said, it was a brilliant showing of how much fun you can have with friends playing an MMO again, and I'm really excited about that, because that's what it's about for me. Is going into a world with thousands, hundreds of thousands of other people, making new friends, getting together, trying to conquer and overcome the difficulties set by the game and the challenges. That's what I want. I couldn't ask for anything more.
Yeah. I don't have a single story from any MMO I've ever played in the last 20 years when it was easy.
Mm. With this game being challenging, like it is, or wanting to be challenging, you're also going to pay attention to your surroundings automatically. And these visuals, again, I'm seeing this now for the first time. Wow, these visuals look really cool. And the animations and everything.
Am I tearing up? No, I'm not tearing up. I'm trying not to fall asleep. Probably would have been a lot easier had I not gone to bed at 2 a.m. last night as well. Yeah, until the scar revealed in game, my life means nothing.
Yep. So we will be back on Friday, where we carry on our class discussion series on archetypes and subclasses, and where we will be addressing the wizard, because that will be that's the easiest class to kind of start off the whole discussion and speculation theory crafting on. We're back for that 6 PM Eastern on Friday, so join us for that. And we put out a tweet recently that we're actually looking for people to help the VoT crew behind the scenes, behind the curtain, with our show. So if you're interested in that, go check out the tweet on Twitter at Pantheon_VoT is our handle, or join our Discord server for further information. I'll basically, if you're interested, you want to help out, you can reach out to us, and we'll pass on the information what we're actually looking for. It does require some time, and it requires weekly attention. Just to note, further details for those that are interested, reach out to us, and Zafir's put out the Discord link so you can connect there. I'll be heading out, so if you are interested and you reach out to us, I will get back to you as soon as I get home and explain everything in detail. But we're looking for people to help us out. The more the merrier, to help us organise and get sorted, because it's definitely becoming...
Because I'm not any help.
it's definitely becoming a very... a lot of work. We've got so much going in the pipeline at the moment that the work is definitely overcrowding us, and that's why our content recently has been slipping somewhat. That's a nice way of saying it, right?
Yes. Give me a blanket. No, I have one right here.
You're not wearing pants again.
No, I'm not. When am I ever?
So, anyway, we will see you all on Friday, 6 PM Eastern. Thanks for tuning in for the stream. VR did a fantastic job despite having the technical issues at the beginning, despite having the times messed up. But hey, I'm going to blame Ko on this one. This time, because Ko was actually the first to actually kind of mess things up. He mentioned alpha instead of pre-alpha, so it kind of carried over to this stream. And in all honesty, the main culprit for this is Kilson. Kilson actually started this whole mess, having technical difficulties. When we first started off with our show, everything went fine, and then Kilson came on and it went downhill from there. And I presume that's the same for VR as well.
Actually, yeah, Kilson wasn't there today, was he?
No, he wasn't.
So that was the problem.
Yep. We would have been there. Everything would have run smoothly. But you know, that's a great thing though. These guys still managed to pull it off without, you know, they shrugged it off. They wiped it off their shoulder, like, you know, as if it was nothing. And that's what you expect of these guys. The professionalism and the fun that they were having. They really enjoyed themselves. And I hope to one day get to indulge with these guys and have fun and go on a little adventure. So with that, any last words, Lex? Anything to note?
You all need to go away so I can go to sleep.
Right. So with that, guys, have a great night, great day, wherever you are in the world, and we will see you all on Friday. And yeah, Lex, you go get some sleep, man, and we'll speak. We'll speak later.
Everybody.
Be safe, everyone.